One day, my husband asked me, "Hey, how much money do we have in that vault?" I laughed and replied, probably around $1,000 in total now. The next day, when I got home, there were signed divorce papers on the living room table, and both my husband and the vault were gone. My name is Lovisa. I'm a 60-year-old working housewife, and I still work hard at my job. My hobby is saving money. When I was a child, my mother opened a savings account for me. She told me that depositing money in the bank made the numbers in my passbook grow, and I found that very enjoyable. I started depositing a little bit at a time, starting with just $1, and enjoyed watching it grow. When my savings grew by a few cents in interest each year, it was a delightful surprise to my young self. Because I loved money and how it works, I became a financial planner and gave advice on asset management. One day, a friend from college told me an old childhood friend was in serious trouble due to debt. She asked if I could give him some advice. So, I decided to meet with him and my friend. This old friend was a handsome man with a refreshing smile. My friend explained that despite his looks, he loved gambling and was struggling to make ends meet. She thought I might have some good advice for him. His name was Michael. As I listened to his story, Michael admitted he loved gambling, just like his parents. Even worse, he had taken on his parents' debt. Of course, he seemed to be quite worried. I found his troubled expression rather endearing. Because my friend had asked, I gladly agreed to help him. Looking back now, perhaps I had a bit of a crush on him, but I never imagined that this would lead to a series of troublesome events. Anyway, I advised Michael to consolidate his debts and reduce his monthly payments so he could manage his life somehow. Not long after, Michael and I started dating. That friend of mine opposed it, saying, I wouldn't recommend being with him, but we went ahead and got married. I thought that getting married would help us face Michael's debt together. My income was pretty good for my age group, so most of Michael's income went towards his debt. I made sure he cut ties with his parents to prevent the debt from increasing further, and I gave Michael a monthly allowance of $500. When Michael decided to cut ties, his mother yelled, "Ungrateful child. I wish I'd never given birth to you." It's only natural for a child to repay their parents' debts. His father also said, "Where's that thieving cat? I can't rest until I give her a piece of my mind. You don't belong to us." My husband, Michael, being exhausted from having to deal with my in-laws' debts all this time, finally told them, "Enough is enough. I'm not your ATM. I'm trying my best here," and came back to me. He finally felt relieved to be free from my in-laws, who constantly brought up their debts. Soon after, we had a son. Our son, Anders, is handsome just like Michael. He's my pride and joy. Anders seemed to pick up on his father's lack of discipline and indecisiveness. Just as our son noticed, Michael's carefree character didn't change. He borrowed money from predatory lenders, dealt with loan sharks, and tricked friends into lending him money to gamble away. We went through a lot, but I managed to keep Michael in line. 25 years went by, and recently, we finally got Michael's debt down to about $20,000. We were almost done repaying the debt when Michael got a call from his parents. "Please help us, your father has collapsed. We're at the hospital now. Can you come?" Michael was frantic. "What? Which hospital? What's his condition? Is he okay?" His mom, clearly distressed, replied, "Your father suddenly collapsed, and we had to call an ambulance." "Mom, pull yourself together. What hospital are you at?" Michael left work early and rushed to the hospital. He messaged me, "Lovisa, Dad collapsed. I'm at the hospital now. I'm sorry I broke our promise and went to see my parents. I'm really sorry." I replied, "What? Your dad collapsed? How is he now?" Michael answered, "He had a minor stroke. His life isn't in danger, but he shouldn't overexert himself. Both my parents are feeling low. I want to stay with them for a while. Is that okay? I reassured him. Of course, honey. Go and comfort them. Should I come too? He said, no, it's okay if you're busy with work. They might treat you poorly again. I gave Michael a little extra money for hospital visits, since they probably couldn't pay for the hospital fees. Since then, Michael started visiting his parents often. Each time, he took $400 or $500 from me. I guess my in-laws were struggling financially and were taking a little bit from Michael. It added up to around $2,000 to $4,000 a month, but I let it slide for now. A year passed since my father-in-law collapsed. Both my in-laws had aged, and I guess they wanted someone to lean on. My hobby, as always, was saving money. One day, I took out my bank book from the vault and grinned. Usually, Michael, who wasn't interested in me, stared at me and asked, "Hey, how much money do we have in that bank account you always look at so happily?" I answered casually, "It's about $1,000 now." But the next morning, I found a filled-out divorce form left in the living room. Both Michael and the safe were gone. As I was having breakfast, I couldn't help but smile. I knew Michael had been eyeing the money in the vault. Moreover, he had planned to take the entire vault. He's really not smart, but imagining him carrying the whole vault almost made me burst out laughing. We have a black cat named Luna. We've installed a pet camera to watch her. Luna's adorable antics are the highlight of my day. I often watch that camera during my lunch breaks. No matter when I look, my child is just adorable. One day, as I switched on the camera, there they were in our living room on a weekday, my in-laws and my husband, Michael. They were having an unbelievable conversation. "Oh, you're living in such a nice house, Michael. You must have a good salary. It makes your mother so proud," they said, flattering my husband. "Indeed, I am proud," responded Michael's father. "You know, I make a pretty decent salary myself, but Lovisa takes all of it, so I only get an allowance of $1,000 a month," Michael said. "Oh, you poor thing. You've been working so hard. Your mother understands," they consoled. "I can't believe she takes all your salary and only gives you $1,000 a month. That's outrageous. You should be getting more. Why are you obeying such a tyrant like Lovisa? You could be living much better on your own," they continued. "You're our pride, Michael. You could have saved hundreds of thousands by now, but she's just exploiting you, you poor thing," they said as my mother-in-law began to sob. "Yeah, I've been thinking the same thing. You guys are right," Michael agreed. I was shocked. What was he talking about? He seemed to have completely forgotten that I've been working hard to pay off his debt. I wondered what was going on inside their heads. In the past, Michael had been burdened with debt from his parents and had to give them cash every month, making it difficult for him to get by. Now he was complaining, "You know, she has a bank book with tons of savings stashed away. It's not fair that I only get $1,000. The moment he said that, my in-laws' eyes lit up. They exchanged glances. "So, how much is in the bank book?" They leaned in eagerly, awaiting his answer. Last I heard, I think it was around $400,000 or $1,000, Michael said. "Isn't that money rightfully yours?" they asked. "It might not match the effort you've put in, but isn't it money you should be receiving?" "Yeah, I guess you're right. I'm starting to think the same thing," Michael conceded. Despite his good looks, Michael is indecisive and easily influenced by others. I used to find this indecisiveness endearing and devoted myself to him wholeheartedly. We managed to reduce his nearly $200,000 debt down to $10,000, yet it looks like he's being manipulated by his parents again, and they're about to touch my precious savings. Seeing this scene was so pathetic. I was at my desk at work, tears streaming down my face as I held my phone. I had been putting aside my living expenses for Michael, using his income mostly to pay off the debt. On top of that, I was providing him with an allowance of $500 out of my own pocket. Despite explaining this to Michael, it seems he's completely forgotten. What have these past 25 years been for? I felt so sad and pitiful. My heart ached as if I was drowning in my own tears. It felt like I was disappearing, on the verge of breaking. But I made sure to record the conversation and sent the data to my son. That day, I left work early due to sickness. I went to my usual bar and drank heavily, spilling out everything to the Olaf. In such a state, the Olaf comforted me gently. He casually said, "Why do you grieve over such a person? You did nothing wrong. There's no need to live for them. Live for yourself." At that moment, all my intoxication and love for my husband faded. "Thank you, sir. Next time, we'll share a pleasant dream," I said to the Olaf. I went back home, entering my study. I began to think, how would I steal the bank book inside that vault? I couldn't even begin to imagine, but I needed to devise a plan. I will show them hell. They shouldn't underestimate me. I concentrated harder than usual. Gathering evidence was the first step. From then on, I frequently checked the pet camera every day. Then the ugly truths began to surface. My husband was bringing home a young woman during his supposed work hours. It seemed like he was bringing her over about 3 times a week. I couldn't believe I had to witness my husband's infidelity when all I wanted was to watch our cat, Luna. Luna also seemed to be scared and wouldn't show up. They ruined my precious relaxation time. More than that, they betrayed me, which I can't forgive. One day, I'll punish them severely. One day while I was working, I activated the pet camera. This time, it wasn't the woman my husband was having an affair with, but my in-laws were at our house again. "So, is everything arranged to take that bank book from Lovisa?" they said with an unpleasant grin. "You're smart. You must have thought of something, right?" "Yeah, I thought about it. I'm thinking of taking the entire vault." "It'll be easy," Michael replied. "Hey, that vault is quite heavy. Are you sure you can manage it?" they asked. As I listened to their plotting, my anger grew. They thought they could outsmart me and steal what I had worked so hard to save. But they had no idea who they were dealing with. I would make sure they paid for their betrayal. "I can do it. I'll be fine. I'll load it on a cart. Help me out, Dad." "All right, I'll assist you anytime." The safe weighed about 150 pounds. As I suspected, my husband Michael was good-looking but not very smart. I pledged in my heart once again to drag these people down to the depths of hell. If we have that money from the bank book, we can go to the casino as a family. We can live as a family of 3 again. That's right, let's live happily with the money from that bank book, right, Michael? "Yeah, but I do feel a little bad about Lovisa. She was saving up so happily, working hard for the money she saved up." "You can't be so weak-willed. We're doing this for your happiness, remember?" "Right, I'll be happy. Besides, I found a new wife, haven't I? I have to divorce Lovisa for her sake as well. I'll leave the divorce papers here then." "That's right. We're waiting for the money from that bank book and the new wife." "So I'm going to be divorced," Michael said. "Well, I guess that makes sense." I found myself strangely accepting, but just how desperate are these people for some money? I was sipping coffee at my office desk, recording the scene on my phone screen. I wasn't even upset or sad anymore. If they had such intentions, so did I. I was going to show them all hell. I was fired up. Then the day finally came. "Hey, how much money is in that passbook in the vault? You always seem so happy when you're looking at it." "Right now, there's about $1 million in there," I replied. The next day, when I got home, there was a signed divorce paper in the living room, and both my husband and the vault were gone. I had a smirk on my face while having breakfast. I acted quickly afterward. I immediately filed the divorce papers and contacted my son. "Anders, your father finally stole the vault. Can't believe he managed to carry it. It's so heavy. Mom, I think it's about time you end things with Dad. By the way, did he take everything in the vault too? Actually, I moved all the money to online banking. The passbook is essentially worthless now. The most valuable thing might have been the safe itself since it was so heavy. Oh, by the way, I've already filed the divorce papers. Now, I'm thinking about filing a police report. What do you think? You should file a police report, and it would be best to hire a lawyer. Oh right, a lawyer. I already had a private investigator on it, but hadn't thought about a lawyer. Thanks, Anders. I'm cutting ties with that man too. As Anders suggested, I reached out to a lawyer through my private investigative contact. I handed over the recording from my pet camera to the police and the lawyer and waited. After a while, I received a call from my ex-husband. He sounded quite frantic. What the hell? The passbook is empty. What happened to the $1 million? You tricked me. That was my money. Where is it? Tell me now, or I'm going back to the house and abandoning your cat, Luna. You just committed theft and now you're threatening me. From now on, communicate through my lawyer, I said and blocked his number. I felt a sense of liberation wash over me. I had spent 25 years working hard, only to be betrayed by the man I once loved. But now, I was free from his manipulation and deceit. It was time to live for myself. I reported the incident to the police and sent the recording to my lawyer. Oh, what a relief. This was exactly what I wanted to do. Karma is indeed a real pain. Shortly after, I got a call from the police. We have caught the thief. However, the vault was damaged. It appears he forced it open and burned the things inside. My ex-husband and his parents learned that the passbook balance was zero and apparently set the contents of the vault on fire. Even though it was his first offense, my ex-husband spent a few days in police custody. His parents were released with a stern warning. After he was released, my ex-husband broke into the house he used to live in. Hey, open up. I've come back.
I'm sorry.
It was just a small prank. Let me in, let's talk. You haven't filed the divorce papers yet, have you? We're still married, right? Don't make a scene in front of the house. This is no longer your house. I've already filed the divorce papers. We are strangers now. Leave now or I'll call the police. You jerk. This is my house. Open up, open up. I called the police when he started causing a scene. 10 minutes later, he was taken away by the police again. I then called my lawyer, explained what happened, and had him start the process of getting a restraining order. Afterwards, I asked my lawyer to sue for emotional distress due to infidelity. The lawyer said we might not get much money from his broke family, but that didn't really matter to me. I was definitely going to demand alimony. It seems the reason he broke into our house was because he was discarded by his mistress and apparently wanted to get back with me. His mistress promptly transferred $20,000 in alimony and fled. They split after the vault incident. When the money runs out, so does the love. I'm sure he was enticed by my $1,000. My underpaid ex-husband, who still has $20,000 in debt, and his gambling-addicted parents are struggling with daily life. He appears to be living in an old single-room apartment without a bath, constantly quarreling with his parents. This information came from my lawyer. My ex-husband pleaded, I can't afford to pay the alimony. Please reduce the amount. My ex-husband, who got involved with the police, was on the verge of retirement but apparently got fired from his company. The elderly parents-in-law have managed to find jobs in cleaning and seem to be barely making ends meet. My ex-husband is now working 3 part-time jobs, but these 3 are gambling addicts, so no matter how much money they have, it disappears. There's no helping them. I had my lawyer tell them, no reduction. Stay away from her. If you're really sorry, show it with money. If he had stayed with me, he had planned to end the remaining $20,000 debt by the time he retired. But He fell for the sweet talk of his gambling-addicted parents-in-law in the end. How foolish. That $1,000 is an accumulation of my savings that I have been building from a very young age. I find it enjoyable to save small change. There's just something fun about updating the bank book. So, I think I'll start a new bank book. Right now, I'm living a relaxed life with my black cat, Luna. My son visits occasionally and tells me about his girlfriend. This time, I'm going to spend time for myself. I need to buy a new vault, one that's so big that a person can't carry it. Right, Luna? I am the happiest I've ever been.